Iran's strikes against Israel were unprecedented. A barrage of drones and missiles, the first time Iran has attacked Israel directly from Iranian territory. Israel says most were intercepted and there was little damage. Still, it's an alarming escalation. Israel and Iran's decades-long shadow war spilling out into the open.
So that was the CBC's Ellen Morrow. And joining us here in studio right now are two active members of the local Iranian-Canadian community. Tami Sadegi is a co-founder of Solidarity for Iranians, which organized Women Life Freedom rallies. Tami, hello and welcome.
Hello, good afternoon. Thank you.
Also with us, Fred Soofi, a member of the Canadian Iranian Foundation. Fred, welcome.
Thank you very much for having us. Thank you.
Fred, what was your initial reaction to Iran's attack on Israel?
Iran's attack on Israel is, first of all, I did not think, because they were talking about it, but I did not think that happens. But I believe Israel benefited from that attack because Israel was ready for it. And then, as they said 99% of those missiles and drones was intercepted, so just a little bit of damage. And I heard recently, it was a credible news, they say since then Israel got $37 billion order for his defense.
What are you hearing from other Iranians in terms of support for this attack?
We are very worried. If the Israel start attacking Iran, which is very, devastating, I again don't believe Israel will do that because Israel's not going to attack Iran. If they do,
let's not talk about their strategy. Right. Just this attack. What was the reaction that you heard from other Iranians? I think,
believe me, Iranians were kind of very disappointed, and they were very happy none of those missiles worked. Because the missile didn't hurt them, and they're worried about. And then since then, Iran, the regime, started attacking their own people. Right now, there is much more restriction for women in Iran, which there wasn't before that. So they're using that to put more pressure on the women and Iranian people in Iran. Can you believe that? It's unbelievable.
Tami, maybe you can pick up on that as well, since this is an area you specialize in. What do you make of the escalating tensions and as Fred says, the impact on women in Iran as well?
Oh, seriously, the reason they started the attack on Iran, number one, to revenge women life freedom, uprising and revolution, and the other part is to distract people, especially anti-war, because Iranians are not pro-Islamic, they are not pro-regime. And as you saw, thousands came on the street last year, and there are still, rallies happening in Iran. There are still women resisting this regime. So the regime wanted to attack on women to distract people from anti-war protesting on the streets of Iran. So they mobilized their own people who they pay to come on the street and, make they are happy that Iran attacked, Israel, which is not true, at all. And we know regime did it because they wanted to fill the street with their own people, not letting anti-war, protest happen in Iran. So this is one thing. And the other thing, the attack on women to distract people from, what they have done by attacking Israel. I remember that night I was talking to my relatives. They were so scared in Iran because, any war, any crazy things can happen. And Iranians have experienced war once, and they don't like that happen again. But they don't take the regime seriously because the Iranian regime don't have any place within Iran, inside Iran, and abroad. So nobody take them serious, but they are crazy.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up that this attack was a distraction, because our CBC reporter Tanya Fletcher spoke recently to Phil Gerskim, a former senior strategic terrorism analyst at CSIS, specializes in Iranian expertise, and she asked him specifically if this attack could have been meant to distract people from what's happening inside Iran.
100%. I think this is what regimes like this do. You look at the terrorist attack in Moscow, right, by the ISK, the Islamic State in Khorasan, takes away completely what Putin's doing in Ukraine. In fact, he's using it to his benefit, saying somehow Ukraine was involved, and to justify his actions in eastern Ukraine. This is what despotic regimes do, Tani, is that they take any opportunity to deflect people's attention from what's really the problem, i.e. the Iranian regime, the Taliban regime, the Putin regime, whatever, and they say to the public, look, we're being attacked, countries hate us, they're trying to eliminate us, we're simply taking action on your behalf to protect our interests, whether it's locally or abroad. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant tactic to use if you're a despotic regime, whereby you're going to essentially deflect your own population's attention away from the fact that you are a despotic regime or taking away people's rights.
Right. So that was Phil Gerskim, former senior strategic terrorism analyst at CSIS. Both you, Tami, and Fred are nodding your heads in agreement there. What role would you like Canada to play in this conflict? Tami?
Last year when we had, weekly rally, we were asking Canadian government to put IRGC in the terrorist list, because IRGC meet all the basic meet for the terrorist group. So they are not just not safe for Iranian people. They are not safe for the world. They have like a hostage, a lot of dual citizen, even non-Iranian citizens, and they have done many terrorist activity around the world. So this is the main demand that Iranian community in Canada and around the world they wanted. They wanted Canada boycott Iranian regime, expel them from the international bodies. These are our demands.
Right, and Fred, there is debate,
agree.
as you well know, there is debate in Ottawa right now over Canada officially naming Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps a terrorist group. How important is this terrorist designation to you?
Because I tell you what else does IRGC has to do to show they are terrorists? They shot a Ukrainian plane, which the most passengers were Canadian. Just imagine they murdered 60 Canadian. These are Canadian citizens, not even PR, permanent residents. There were some of them. So what else they can do? Why they haven't done it so far? And now with this act of attacking Israel, I think Canada isn't worried. But what makes me very, very worried is influence of those IRGC in Canada. I have been resident of Canada for past 52 years, and I know how much influence they have here.
Yes.
This should be prevented. We should take steps to prevent them to hurt us here, not Iranian Canadian, just Canadian.
Right. Tami, what do you think about what Canadian politicians have been saying about this?
I heard they are worried that some people, they serve their military 2 years and they might be included in this, if they put in the terrorist list. But that's, there could be one exception, because every man in Iran, when they reach 18, they have to serve military. Some of them, IRGC get them, and some of them. So, they can put some exception for the people who serve 2 years of military, but the rest should be, the organization itself should be in terrorist list, because they are not just, you look what they've done to the Middle East. The Middle East is not safe anymore since the Islamic regime came to power with their, the most anti-human, organization violate human rights, not just human rights, the violation of women's rights in Iran, and they made it unsafe for the, the whole Middle East and the whole world. So I'm asking, liberal, I'm asking Trudeau, what are you waiting for? Should we wait until something disastrous happens and then put IRGC into terrorist list?
Right. That's what I was going to ask. Yes. What would be your message to the Prime Minister? And you just gave me your message, Tami. What about for you, Fred?
Yes, the same thing. And I think our Member of Parliament, Bonita Zriello, they recently asked Prime Minister to put IRGC because her constituency, they're lots of Iranian. But I tell you, many Iranian, they love to see that in Canada, but they're scared scared of retaliation of the support. Because they're here. They know they're here.
Many of them.
And they're coming. And prevent them to come to Canada. Why they are coming?
They're fearful here in Canada?
Oh, for sure they're fearful in Canada, because nobody talks about it, because they're fearful, because they're here. They know they're here.
And what kinds of consequences could they face here?
I mean, they can do. They can hurt them. They can. They can knife them. They can. Recently they knifed a reporter in probably heard Iran international reporter, they knifed them in London, England.
So your concerns is that
Yes.
this could happen here.
Yes, if you are...
Listen, I understand your concerns. I want to thank you both very much for coming in, and Tami, I wish your family well as well. You expressed the fact that they've been fearful in Iran as well. Thank you both
Yes.
for being here.
Thank you very much
Thank
for
you
having us. And yes, please, that message should be strong to Prime Minister.
That's
Put
Fred Soofi, a
IRTC.
member of the Canadian Iranian Foundation. Tami Sadegi is co-founder of Solidarity for Iranians. They organize women life freedom rallies.